Welcome to Vital 100 Wellness with Dr. Bob, the podcast designed to take your health to the next level.
Hello, Dr. Bob Johnson here, and in an ongoing series about how you can make sure that your health is optimal if you so choose. I always say that the biggest impediment to good health is lack of information or misinformation. And believe me, there's so much misinformation on the internet and out there for people to get misled on their health. But I pride myself in being able to give very straightforward information and strategies and techniques for people to be able to become optimally healthy. And it's just up to you then. Once you have the right information, it's very important to put that information into practice. And believe me, there's so many factors that are working against you to do that. Foods that taste great but are not healthy, are the toxins in our environment and things that we consume, like water, the food we eat. In our house, in fact, they say that the house has 5 times more toxic air than outside. So there are many things that really interfere with you being healthy. And when you know them and you can avoid them and put good, healthy things into your life, that will very much define how healthy you can and will be. The great test is, are you living a healthy life in your 70s and 80s and 90s and above? And hopefully you don't wait that long to find out. Now, this podcast is a very, very interesting one, and probably one you're not going to see many places, but is absolutely critical. And that is communication within the body. The cells communicate, the nervous system communicates, the hormone systems communicate. And when you get unimpeded communication, then the cells and the functions within the body can be coordinated and respond appropriately to the to outside environment. And so this is very important to understand this. As I said, there are so many things that interfere with proper communication. And when you don't have proper communication, this is when you're going to, in a very short time frame, you're going to start getting ill, and chronic diseases will soon become part of your life. We've talked about that, is how important it is to really have a healthy life if indeed you want to have great energy, live a lot longer. And so this whole thing about cellular communication, what you can do to not only take away the impediments to communication, but enhance the communication throughout the body. So the 2 big areas, actually there are 3 areas that are important in communication. The first one is the nervous system. The nervous system goes throughout the body. Every place has communication nerve cells that talk to each other. An example of that is the brain. When we're born, we have as many nerve cells as we'll ever have. As we get older, the nerve cells can die. But the reason we get more educated, we get more skilled from infant all the way up to adulthood, is that these nerves grow in certain ways to be able to communicate better within the whole nervous system. And so let's say you want to become a good tennis player, or you want to acquire a skill in finance, or you want to become a great orator. Well, what happens is, in that part of the brain that deals with that, the cells start growing together. And a beginner tennis player doesn't have those connections, but as they play more and more, the nerve cells are stimulated to grow together, and that's where the skill improves. So the nervous system is very important. And one of the things that I personally take, but I advise all others to take with respect to improving those communications within the nervous system, and especially the brain, is something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Very important, because as we age, we get less and less brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And also, as the cells start not communicating or dying, you're going to get deficiencies in your thinking or in the nervous system. So very important to be able to take that and to minimize the things in your life that are indeed interfering with brain communication and brain development. Good foods, good exercise. I'm reading so many things now where they're starting to realize that if indeed you want to have a healthy brain, physical exercise is absolutely important. And physical exercise also helps produce things like serotonin, dopamine, and other communication like acetylcholine. So very important that you consider that as early part of your life, not wait till you're 80 and go, oh my God, I got to start taking BDN or I got to start exercising. The earlier you start these things, the better off you're going to be. Now, another part of regulation and communication within the body or within the nervous system to help the body is what's called our autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is composed of the sympathetic nervous system, which speeds things up. Like if you're stressed, it'll speed the heart up, or if you're exercising, it'll speed the heart up. And the parasympathetic nervous system, which slows things down so you can rest and relax. So when you're trying to get to sleep at night, that you can get the parasympathetic system to take over and help recover so you aren't as jittery. I have a number of my clients who I give something called Adrenocalm. That is to calm down the adrenal glands when you're trying to get to sleep. And it's amazing how good a sleep, how deep a sleep you can get when you calm the sympathetic nervous system at night. And then when you wake up in the morning and the sunlight gets to you and you start working in the day, the sympathetic nervous system takes over so you can function on a very high level. And so the autonomic nervous system, composed of sympathetic and parasympathetic, helps you adapt to the needs in your environment or things that are coming into your life. So that's a very important part of communication. And if you have a brain where the protective mechanism, like the blood-brain barrier, is starting to leak and you're getting toxins and infections into the brain, the nervous system is not going to function. And this is where you start getting the dementias, the brain not functioning correctly, the autonomic nervous system not functioning to correctly adapt to the environment. And so this is all communication within the nervous system. Now, another important communication tool within the body is the endocrine system or the hormonal system. And you've got multiple hormones. You've got the sex hormones like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. You've got the adrenal hormones, DHEA, and cortisol, epinephrine. You've got the thyroid hormones. You've got the pancreatic hormones. And these things are coordinating or communicating within the body. So, for example, if you start to eat something, it's going to communicate with the pancreas to produce insulin so that the nutrients, especially glucose within the blood, is going to get to the cells. So this communication has to be coordinated, and without proper communication, you're not going to get that proper coordination of food to getting the nutrients to the body, to the cells. So hormones are very important. When you look at all the hormones, so for example, the thyroid hormones. Thyroid controls metabolism. When the thyroid is not working and the proper thyroid hormones are not being released to communicate throughout the body, you're going to get things like fatigue, you're going to get weight gain, you're going to not have the focus and concentration that thyroid helps in communication with the rest of the body. So thyroid is absolutely critical. They're hormones to communicate throughout the body. The hormones, say, during pregnancy are very important, or during when a woman is menstruating, the hormones coordinate and communicate throughout the body. During pregnancy, when certain hormones have to be high, like the progesterone, the body understands that and communicates that. That's very important to get a healthy pregnancy. And when you don't have this proper communication and the proper hormone balance and coordination, you're going to get things like miscarriages. You're going to get pregnancies that don't go on to full term. So the hormone system or endocrine system is absolutely essential. It's much more involved than what I can talk to in this podcast, but very, very important. And then the stress hormones. When we have a stress, it could be you're being chased by a vicious dog, or you have to study for a very important class or test. This is the stress hormone from the adrenal glands called cortisol. Cortisol is important to be able to adapt your body via communication of that hormone or the stress, the the emotional stress will get to the adrenal glands to communicate and say, secrete cortisol to be able to adapt our body, to be able to run faster or to be able to focus better. Very important to be able to do that. And that takes communication within the system. And so very important to understand that hormonal function. And cortisol is there to adapt your body to be able to be healthier and take care of the stress that you're being presented with. On the other hand, if you're under so much stress, chronic stress all the time, all that cortisol really is very unhealthy. And in fact, it's going to damage your body it wears out your body if you're constantly secreting cortisol. So your body needs that communication to know when to properly start a hormonal cascade or to when to stop. So with the stress hormone, when the stress is gone, the dog is not chasing you anymore, you can calm down and the cortisol will be taken away by the body and not continue to be excreted. So we said the nervous system is important in communication. The hormonal system is absolutely essential. Here's another thing that's very important. The energy within our body. This is something that traditional medicine is not prone to say that it exists. But we are not only physical beings, but we're energetic beings. And so on an energetic level, and this is what Chinese medicine is all about, is how the energy is flowing in our body. Many of our new diagnostic tools measure the energy levels in the body and where there are blockages or where there are no communications. Let's say you've got toxicity in the liver or you've got a deficiency of a nutrient. Those things are blocked energetically. And this is the beginning of disease and illness because the proper communication to be able to take care of that infection or to remove the toxin is not there. Energetically is the energetic communication within the body, from the skin down to the inner organs, from the top of the head to the toes. The energy is so important. There's something that can be very measured on this. If you're a very sensitive practitioner, you can determine your energy field around you. People who are very sick and very not healthy have a very, you can feel the energy is very close to the body. Whereas people who are very healthy, who are excited and positive, their energy field is very wide. And in fact, this is how we communicate with other people, not verbal communication, but people feel energized people, feel excited people who are unhealthy and just dragging. These are people that others do not want to be around. Their energy is not good. What's very interesting is energetic communication when one person starts to be attracted to another. In whatever form that takes, people can feel the energy, whether they can articulate it or not. That's another form of communication. So very, very important to understand that. Now, one other part of this whole energetic communication is our moods, our how we project to the world. When we just have low energy and we're feeling run down and we don't get enough oxygen in, it does affect our mood, our emotions, which are coming from part of the brain. And so it's important to understand how much the energy affects the body and our moods and our just how we feel and how we project to people. We all have come across people who are just where everybody's attracted to them and they have good energy and people love to be around them. And then we've all met people who the world is a terrible place and they don't want to communicate well and they're tired and exhausted. And this is a very low energy being emitted to the world and people do not want to be around them. So the energetic component in communication, not only within our body, but also to the world around us is so important. So understand how that is very critical. Now, to go back to a more understandable thing, here's also how communication is in our body alignment. The way our jaws come together affects the way the skull sits on the vertebra, and the vertebra starts to have to compensate if that junction of C1, first vertebra, is being affected by the base of the skull, which we call the occiput. And the vertebra have to communicate that all the way down into the pelvis and down to the bottom of the feet. I have worked with many people who, by just changing the way the jaw and the teeth come together, affects how the skull sits on the vertebra and has actually resolved many cases of scoliosis and straightened out the spine. So that's how things communicate from a structural point of view. The two structures in the body that actually determine our overall structure are the base of the skull, where it sits on C1, and the bottom of the feet. We all know people who have knee problems, hip problems, and that's because the way their feet hit the ground. If they have collapsing arches, it's going to affect from the bottom all the way up to the top of the head. And if C1 is not sitting on, or the skull is not sitting on C1 correctly, that's going to communicate all the way down the body. So to come back to the original topic here of communication, people have to realize that when things happen somewhere in the body, whether it's internally or whether it's how your feet hit the ground, very, very important. A little bit of an aside here, one of the ways to get healthy is to get electrons in the body. That quenches or stops free radical damage in the body. And it causes us, electrons are very important for our energy production. Now, one of the ways that we can get great energy is to be near running water, like on the seashore, and to do what's called earthing. When you walk on the earth, the sand, when you walk on the ground, you're getting the electrons from the earth, and that communicates throughout the body. It makes the body much healthier. In fact, it's one of the ways that I have recommended to so many people to be able to reverse illness, and that is to get more electrons in the body, to quench the free radicals. The other ways to do that are vitamin C, which has electrons to give, glutathione, molecular hydrogen, all have electrons to give, and that communicates throughout the body. So as you can see, we have communication from our environment into our body, what we consume, as far as getting the right nutrients and the electrons in, but also communicate within the body. The nervous system has to communicate throughout, from the skin into the deeper inner organs. The hormonal system is so important. It's a communication system that coordinates the body. One part of that is our cycle, our daily, what we call circadian cycle. When it becomes dark, our body starts to slow down, and that's where the parasympathetic nervous system takes over. When the light comes out, and this is one of the ways to get going, is to have the sunlight hit your eyes and to be able to get the transition from the parasympathetic to the sympathetic. And so you start your day very energized. So as you can see, there are many ways and very important critical ways to get communication within the body. And when that communication is no longer optimal, where there are blockages of hormones or deficiency of hormones, or you've got the blockages of the nerves in the brain, disease and illness is going to start. When the body's immune system is not communicated to, so for example, if you cut yourself, the immune system goes and repairs it and helps eliminate any microbes or toxins. So you can see there are many forms of communication. And this comes down to, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to have the right diet. You've got to be exposed to positive influences. You've got to get good sleep. You've got to do a continual form of exercise throughout the week. These are all things that help you live a long life, communicate, optimize your health. And so many times as we age, we lose these abilities, and this is what causes degeneration. But there are so many ways that you can indeed make sure that journey does happen over a very short amount of time, that you don't, communicate, you build up, you maintain your health over a long period of time so that you do not have these illnesses develop. Chronic illnesses, dementia, diabetes, MS, any number of diseases and illnesses take a long time to develop. Give your body the tools to be able to communicate, to be able to coordinate the proper responses so that these challenges are eliminated and that you can maintain your health without becoming chronically ill. So I hope this helps you appreciate and understand how important the communication is within your body and how much you have control over that. so that you don't develop illness, you don't age early. I'm so amazed at when I see people who you love to watch in film, or you love to follow them athletically, that these people are dying at the age of 40, 50, 60, 70. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't be developing these chronic illnesses. So please understand and appreciate the importance of communication within the body, and make sure that you optimize it with your lifestyle choices, with the choices you need to make sure that your genetics are optimized, your life is optimized, and your health is optimized. I hope this helps you in understanding and appreciating how important communication channels are, and how important the choices you make to optimize your health. Take care, and always remember to enjoy the journey.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Vital 100 Wellness with Dr. Bob. Be sure to visit our website at vital100wellness.com for more ways to listen and to explore additional health resources. If you have any questions for Dr. Bob, or feedback and suggestions for the podcast, you can email us at info@vital100wellness.com.